So, pardon me. So just to start overall, basically, have you gone through the recording, Prabhakar ji?
Yeah, I went through that.
Okay, great, great. So this is how we normally start. We normally define the project. Then it's hardly few classes, and for okay, yes, just the additional thing to share with you. Richa ji is going to take Scrum Agile again for BA. Mostly, I think from I'll share those even links with you on that Zoom meet, so you can also go through the Scrum Agile sessions again. And this is in within next few days. So I'll share those links with you, so you can go through those. It'll be basically 6 classes, 6 sessions, which Richaji, uh, Recharge is going to take, and that's how basically rather than recording, you can directly take the part of the actual live classes. And even if you have any concern in terms of recording, in terms of any these things, I can have a separate call with you as well. Okay, and I'll share the presentation with you again, so that you can have go through those presentation this thing as well. And if you have any question for that matter, you can ask me, and we can have a separate call whenever it's right for you.
Yeah,
Does that yeah,
that's great. That's
yeah.
great. But can you do one thing, like which one the sequence, like the one, two, three, the chapter one, or whatever you have like decided,
No, no,
like
no, okay,
that
we
will be.
haven't reached that PM book yet. We
Mhm.
were trying to understand the generalized definition, right? Like,
Okay.
what is a project? What is a program? What do you mean by portfolio? These are the 3 different level of managers which PMI thinks, right? For project
Okay.
manager, we have PMP. For program manager, we have PGMP. For portfolio manager, we have another exam. So something like that. And then what is the need? That's what we discussed. We also
Mhm.
discussed the overall, the spread of questions with the PMI certification thing, right?
Mhm.
In the
Okay.
last thing we were discuss. So, JG, you want to say something? Okay. The last thing we were discussing, which is the most suitable exam for us, because in PMI you can directly go for PFMP, PGMP, or PMP. PMP is the most flagship product of PMI, and that's how we basically the planning was to go for PMP. But now if we can go for PGMP directly, and if we have subsequent experience to show, then we can go to PGMP, and PGMP more lucrative, more kind of matured way of program manager. Like, you manage multiple project at a single instance, and you get paid well also. Right, so that's how we were trying for PGMP. But there were a couple of challenges, and we will take that thing once Deeptesh ji here, he was coordinating with somebody, and we'll have those details also discussed underway. Okay. I believe you are on that candidate group, right? So what all things we have done in terms of project management classes, right? I used to basically put down a minutes of meeting kind of scenario there, a summary of sessions overall there. So you might have
Yeah,
had a look at those, right? That's true. So
that's correct.
yeah,
That's
so
correct. Yeah.
yeah. So if you have any topic which you would like to discuss, you'd like to understand, we can take it up one on one after this class, or we can plan those things. You have my WhatsApp number, or you can put it in a group. Please don't worry, we are here to learn, right? And that's how
Mhm.
we normally go ahead step by step.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Sure, no problem.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go ahead. uh, where were we yesterday? We had a look at this agile. We had a look at this agile scrum. Mm, mm. To start on this thing, right? Okay. So the mission career is right. So let me open that another video so that we can, wait a minute.
Can I know who is another one with the my colleagues, like what they are doing, and if there is
Okay, yes.
if there is any sort introduction or anything like that, that's going to help.
Yeah. Give me a minute, please. Yes. Okay. Let me start this thing. Let me share. Wait a minute. Yes.
How many classes I missed? Like just two, or there are many more?
I believe around weeks overall. So, uh, yeah, could we introduce ourselves? Let's say in a couple of sentences for Prabhakar ji.
Hey Prabhakar. Hi.
Hi. Uh,
Hi, this is Vijay Nanavare. Um, I live in Detroit, Michigan, and I work for Volkswagen. I'm in the IT, working for operations team, like production support and all. So I have like maybe 18 years of experience in the IT field, and now
oh,
pursuing PMP. So
okay.
nice meeting
Thank
you.
thank you. Nice meeting. Same here.
Srinivas ji, Srini
Yeah,
ji. Yeah, could you please go ahead? Yes.
yeah. Hi, Prabhakar. My name is Trini. I have been working as a project management as well as in pre-sales kind of projects. I have more than 10 plus years of experience in handling projects. I work for a company in Troy, Michigan. It's CATAT Solutions. Currently, I live in Springfield, Illinois.
Did you say you work in Troy, Michigan?
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, Vijay.
Oh, really? Okay. So you work for the company in Troy, Michigan.
Yeah, I work for the company in Troy, Michigan, but currently I live in Springfield, Illinois.
So, okay, sorry, maybe I'm not hearing right. You said you are work like the company name is Troy Mission.
No. No, my company is in Troy.
Troy,
My
Michigan.
company, yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
same place you live.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Like
Yeah.
whether which company you said?
It's HTC Global
Oh,
Services.
HTC. Okay, I
Yeah.
know that. Okay, got it.
Just you said you live in that Somerset apartment, right?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought
Yeah.
like you moved to Illinois, so something.
Yeah. But I live in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
that
it.
works. I'm from Montana.
Yeah, my wife works here, so I live here. I remote.
Got it.
We are also working from since March 2020. We are also working remote work. Like no one is asking for the come to the office. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, mostly everybody's working remotely only, and I think it's going to stay that way for at least a couple of months, if not 6 months or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
Then let's do one thing. Yeah. Who else? JG is believe I believe busy. Let's see.
Sorry, Prabhakar, I missed the initial introduction of you.
Yes.
Where do you live and where do you work?
Yeah. My name is Prabhakar Kumar Singh, and I'm working with University of Pennsylvania as the assistant
Feel free to
director
tell us when you're in the
of
gym. That way
IT and
we know
operation.
you like some stuff
Uh,
moving and stuff.
and I live in New Jersey.
Okay.
Okay, so we are actually starting as of today in terms of actual, crux of the subdivision, right? So let's go over the definitions again. The three things which are really crucial in terms of PMI's execution, or what they call project administration, is trying to understand the area where we are trying to concentrate our efforts on. First is basically the projects, then programs, and then portfolio. This is how the subgroup basically have been evolved. As we see, projects is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. We have discussed on this, right? Go ahead, please.
Are we recording? The recording is blinking.
Come again, please.
Are we recording?
Wait a minute. Yes, we are recording.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll be listening.
I'll share the recording after this, and that's for the internal purpose also. Please don't worry. Okay. And JG, we have a new family member today, Mr. Prabhakar Singh.
Yep.
He was just trying to introduce and all.
Right.
So if you could please introduce yourself in a couple of sentences, that will be great help.
Sure. My name is Jay Patel. I'm from Gujarat, but I grew up in the States. I'm in Delaware, South Jersey area, and my background is civil engineering with commercial construction on high-rise buildings in Chicago, New York City, and etc. So that's it in a nutshell.
Nice to meet you, Jayji.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get started on this, overall. So anybody have any challenge in understanding projects definition? We've gone through this, right? It's a temporary endeavor. So what we say, every project has a definite end. We plan it that way. And the product should be, or the result should be completely tangible or intangible, but it's a definite results what we're talking about, right? It's a temporary endeavor, so it can't go on and on and on. They should be have an end date in mind and end product in mind, which is tangible or intangible. Any challenges here? Prabhakar ji, just to repeat, I believe if you've gone through this definition, we discussed almost in one complete session, because this is really crucial for everybody of us to understand how the project, because we are going to get certified on project management. Okay, so we need to understand the project, the way PMI perceives it. This is one of the most mature definition what we have accepted. A project is a temporary endeavor undertaking to create a unique product, service, or a result, right? So we are trying to create a project, trying to envisage a plan where I'm going to create something which is unique, a product, service, or result, which is tangible or intangible. That's understood. Then is basically have a definite end in mind. So if I go to somebody like Tesla, and if I say I need to have 10 cars built in month of March, that's a project. But if I say I have to keep building 10 cars a month, that's not a project. That's a kind of statement. Yes, we can understand. And that can't be a, what you can say, project statement. Project statement is basically what you can say, you're trying to explain what you're doing in your project. We should have a definite end and which have a unique result in mind. Right? Could you understand this? Could we all
Yeah,
understand it? Yeah.
So if you are saying like you want to produce the 10 cars, so
Right.
just 10 car is just a number, but the
Right.
all are equal. Like not all are or 10 car are not unique. They all are
That's it.
similar. They all are similar.
Yeah, it's a
Is
part
it
of process. Right. Process can't be a project. Project should have a definite end attached to it. A schedule,
Yeah,
a scope, which is clearly defined, has a complete end in sight. Does
that's
that make
correct.
sense? Okay.
Yeah, the process is the part of the project.
Or project can be a part of the process. Depends, because if you are manufacturing car, let's say Tesla is manufacturing around, I think 45 cars per month, depending on the factory output and the other new factories and all those things. And if the CIO thinks, okay, rather than 45, let's try 48 this month. So that can be a project. So what I'm saying, I want to make 48 cars for the month of March. Why month of March? Because I need to put on some extra resources. I need to do some crashing. In the words of PMI, we call it crashing. I have to do some crashing. So I'll pull out some resources from some other departments, mostly, operations. I'll hire some consultant from outside and apply to this, car making process. Even I need to procure some extra raw material, right? Because raw material makes a car. So for that, even I need to have some extra procurement hand. So all these man, material, machine resources, I'll make sure they'll align towards the goal of making 48 car for the months of March 2021. And this is how I create my project statement, right? We'll understand the definition of each of such scenarios step by step. Right now, we are just trying to understand what are the crucial part in terms of knowledge area, right? According to PMI, there are 10 knowledge area, and we're going to have a look at these knowledge area one by one, so that we could understand how to manage, how to control, how to basically execute a project in the best practiced way, which is known throughout the world. And that's the intention here. Okay, there could be a bit of tweaking and twisting depending upon our domain, depending upon our ground scenarios. But overall, these are the general principles, these are the general best practices which we are going to follow step by step, and we'll learn on them. And there are a couple of workshops attached with these as well. So we do some hands-on. So when I say we're going to create a project plan, we can create a project plan. We can use something like Excel. We can use something like Jira. We can use something like Microsoft Project, depending on the scenario and this thing. And we'll come to that point also. And I'll share I have shared the video earlier, but I'll share the videos of learning these tools again. And we can have a practice of learning these tools together as well, so that we know we are going to use these tools day in, day out whenever I'm going to plan any project, right? So that's also part and parcel of the whole, PMI certification training program. Let's try to understand. Okay, anybody have any confusion at this moment? Anybody need any particular, extra details? Are we good?
We're good.
Okay, great. Let's go over to the program. A program is a group of related projects. Now, why we say related? Because unless it's related, why you group them, right? Something like that. A subsidiary program, yes, can be possible, right? For a car, I need to procure raw material. So for car building, I'll have some subsidiary program called procurement. Procurement of that, electrical batteries, or manufacturing of electrical batteries. Procurement of the car motor. There are 4 different motors. So how to procure these 4 different motors for 48 cars. So we'll do have some extra procurement for the tools, extra procurement for the overall manufacturing line, and so on and so forth. So these are kind of subsidiary program. And then program activities, because we'll need more hands, we'll need more machines, man, and so on and so forth. So these way the resource management also have to be ramped up, and so the program activities. So I need to have additional things which are balanced for the whole execution. As a program, I'm trying to execute a couple of projects together which are related or a subsidiary, and will basically ramp up the activities which are managed in a coordinated manner, because they are aligned for a given related cause, or a kind of hierarchical subsidiary program. So they have to be executed in a coordinated manner, right? And the benefits which we are going to leverage for managing these things have to be tracked individually. So my program task list can basically get piled up. So I'll have some more extra, project managers to look into each and every or a set of tasks, right? So when I say program, these are what we call program manager. Is basically a senior project manager, which normally handles couple of projects together. So he has some project managers working with him. Let's take a small example as we're discussing the Tesla car. Let's say I have took a project of building 48 cars in the month of March 2021. So as a program manager, because I'm trying to ramp up multiple models of cars, to a next level, I'll have those project managers, might be X3 project manager, and I know there are various models in Tesla. I believe around 6 or 9 models there. So he'll have so many project managers call for a meeting and request them. So who all can ramp up to from 45 to 48? Some of them say, no, it's really crucial. I need to plan at least 2 months in advance. He said, okay, go ahead. Then the next one, he'll say, okay, yeah, I can easily ramp up. I believe, I have this time, that time, I have that resources, but I need these resources. So then program manager will note down and try to append or, try to add some tasks to this guy's project manager, to this guy's task list, right? Because he need to, let's say build one extra car during that same period. Does that make sense? What am I sharing? Could we link to this example? Hello, somebody has to respond. Anybody? Am I making any sense?
Raviji, sorry, I did not get it.
Okay, what should I repeat?
You were talking about a program.
Program, yeah. Program managers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Prabhakarji, have you understood?
You said like the program manager is handling multiple project manager, like the junior manager or something. They are going to manage their task and they are helping to synchronize the project.
Right. Very rightly said. Very rightly said. Yeah. So I'll explain again. A program is a group of related projects. So these projects are mostly related, and that's why we club together. Or something like subsidiary program. What is a subsidiary program? If I'm making a car, I have to procure the raw parts also, right? The raw materials. So this is a kind of subsidiary which is required to execute the main task. This is what we call subtask. So all these subsidiary programs, subsidiary projects club together in a program. And then as we have tried to plan these things, the activities will be ramped up accordingly. As we discussed the example of Tesla car. A Tesla car CIO decides, or let's say PMO decides to build some 20% car extra for the month of March 2021. And then he calls a meeting of all project managers and requests him, hey project manager, could you please tell me how much cars you can make more in March 2021? So if say a Tesla lineup car, they're manufacturing 20 cars in the month of February, or they have planned a project for manufacturing 20 cars in a month of March, they should go to a number called 22, right? So whenever we are basically trying to add or ramp up our production, we need to make sure we have the enough raw material, we have enough manpower, and we have enough budget to procure those raw parts also, right? So all these things, these are subsidiary to the main program. Unless these things are executed, the main programs will be a failure, or main project will be a failure, right? So how do we do it? So we'll plan this activity, we'll add this activity, we'll crash the activity. Crashing is a word normally PMI uses for ramping up the activities. So if you are increasing the activity, you are working something in parallel, that's referred as a crashing. Okay, and these are basically managed in a coordinated manner to obtain benefits from all these project managing individually. So we can have a resource sharing. So whenever I'm trying to ramp up my manufacturing of cars from 20 in February to 22 in March, what I'll do, I'll add some raw material, I'll add some manpower, I'll add some activities, or I'll leverage some consultant, and that's how I ramp up the projects to aligned unified goal. Does that make sense now, Vijayji?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a super group project. If you say a group, this is a super group, or project can be a subset of a program, and that's how we work out. Now let's get to a next level. Now programs are basically multiple projects. Now portfolios are basically multiple program. So you have many projects in a portfolio. As we have discussed, portfolio are basically aligned for a strategic execution, might be a domain, might be a business region, business area, might be a defined strategic alignment for a given cause. So these are the normally portfolios are aligned. So all the project aligned to that area will be clubbed together, or all the programs which are aligned towards that area will be clubbed together. A portfolio is a collection of projects, many projects, and as well as program. Subsidy of portfolio and operations managed as a group of achieve strategic objective. Portfolios are normally planned on an organization level. So when CIO, CTO, MD and all these guys plan for certain things for a given strategy, let's say a CIO plans a strategy to increase its operation in the North American region. So what will go, he'll call all the program managers in the working in the North American manager and request him. So what we can do to ramp up our revenue in the North American region. So every program manager will share his and her what you can say 2 cents or points that how can you ramp up, and this is how the business grow, right? We go because we strategically align ourselves for a given reason, given cause or a given domain. Given cause is like how do we work for a remote working scenarios, and that's how CIO will come. So the project manager will say, okay, I'll need Jira, I'll need Microsoft Project, because these are a good tools in my analysis, which we could really leverage the remote working, and we could track and monitor better and so on and so forth. So I'll collect all such scenario and then basically plan a training for all project managers to get introduced to something like Jira, project managers, depending on the choice and depending upon the scenario which the portfolio managers thinks fit for a given need. Okay, so this is how the portfolio managers work. They are mostly strategic in nature. Projects are tactical in nature. We normally plan everything for the next 6 months. So how do you differentiate strategy and tactics? Tactics are my current scenario challenges which I have planned to solve. Strategies are basically my target scenario which are more than 6 months ahead of me, and I'm trying to work towards them with a strategical manner. Does that make sense? Anybody have any confusion? Vijayji, have you understood about the portfolio?
So portfolio is basically he plans for the like future, like in a kind like as the example you said that if you want to work remotely, so what are the things that you need, and he will try to bring all those them
work towards them
together towards that, work
right.
towards that.
Right. Perfect. No problem. So these are
on the upper level, like the most upper level part, like the
right.
CTO
Top
and
management.
the top
Normal
management
top
level.
management
Top
handles the
management.
portfolio management. That's very rightly said. Very correct assumption. Okay. So let's take a step further and trying to understand what is the scope now, right? So project have defined objectives, right? We said the project definition itself is an objective, and there are many objectives below it to make that object a success, right? So this scope is progressively elaborated throughout the project life cycle. So scopes is basically what all tasks, what all activities we are going to do to make sure that project goal is achieved. What all tasks, what all activities we are going to do to achieve that project objective, the main objective, right? That's my scope overall. So when I say I want to ramp up my car production from 20 cars to 22 cars in the month of March 2021, what all activities do I need to make sure the project is a success? These all come under the scope. So scope is my overall plan which I'm making with these different activities or different tasks which I make to make sure I reach the objective successfully with a definite plan in mind, right? So this is how the scope is defined. Now in programs, like we have multiple projects, So programs have a scope that encompasses all the scopes of his project components, program components. Because if you have a subsidiary programs, then also the subsidiary program components will be included in the scope of a main program. Program produce benefits to an organization by ensuring that the outputs and outcomes of the program components are delivered in a coordinated and a complementary manner. So in programs, these all projects supports each other and they work in a cohesive way. They work hand in hand. They work together to reach that specific objective of a program, right? Is it could you understand this? Like a scope for a program. Now scope for a portfolio is basically scope for the organizational level. So portfolios have a scope that changes with the strategic objective of an organization. Programs you can treat as a department. So projects is basically a singular execution, program is basically multiple project execution, and portfolios are basically organization level. So program can be a departmental strategic initiative, right? Or tactical initiative depending upon the timelines or the scope and plan of these projects are combined together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Good.
if I say like Tesla company, just I want to give you example like
Sure,
Tesla
go ahead,
company.
please.
Yeah. So Tesla company want to launch the flying car, like the flying, that is our, so that will come in under the portfolio. Like there is we want to achieve the flying car, and there is a
Okay. Yes,
yeah
let me ask you a question.
yeah
To build a flying car, it's an organizational strategic initiative, right?
yeah
But
that's correct.
yeah, to first what you'll do, you'll create one single flying car, right?
No, first maybe I'm wrong. So the project.
Don't take it wrong or right. Let's try to understand in detail, because
Mhm,
this is we are going to do for the next 6 to 8 weeks now. Rather
mhm,
6 weeks, not 8 weeks. But
mhm.
let's try to understand what we are thinking and how it relates and fits to which set of these objectives. So first, what we call, we'll build something called proof of concept, right? We do
Mhm,
everywhere,
mhm.
because these every of these model cost a lot. So what we do for a flying car, I'll create a proof of concept, we call it POC. I will create a sample. Does that make sense to you?
Okay. Yeah. So
Huh.
like you were saying the model, like we can
Right.
first
No,
design the
no,
model.
for planning to make multiple flying cars, I need to start with one, because if first is successful, then I can replicate that. This is how the business thinks, right?
Okay.
So
Got
for
it.
building one car, I'll create a project. So that I'll create a project name, proof of concept for flying car, and I'll have somebody name as a project manager, and who will take care of these things. He'll start the R&D activity to be precise first. So the first task could be try to conceptualize in theory how flying car will work. That will be my first task, right? I'm just trying to understand or think loud here. Does that make sense
Mhm.
to you?
Yeah. So
Yes, but
let me
Good.
define first.
Please,
Okay.
please.
So like yeah. So like I want to make the flying car. Okay. So that will come under the portfolio. Assume that one. Is it
Sure.
correct or not? Okay. So now we go to the project. So in the flying car, we need we need like the flying gear, like other parts, like the they can launch or whatever the rotator and all this thing required. So
Right.
that should be come into the project, like one project manager
Unit
going to.
creation. Right.
y- yeah.
And
So
yes, so there could be something like, I need 6 fan. Let's say I want to build something like, a hovercraft first. Hovercraft, right? It hovers over on ground for, few feet above ground.
yeah,
So I'll
that's
have
correct.
a hovercraft with the 6 fan and the person sitting in mid.
That's
Something like
correct.
that.
Yeah, like
So this is what we
we
call a sample or a research and development, right? Because there's no there's no flying car available in the market. So I'm
that's
started something new, right?
mhm.
So I
Okay.
need to build a sample to prove that my thought process is realistic, practical, and blah 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 things.
Okay, got it, got it.
right? So that will
Yep.
be a kind of single execution. So I'll have a manager attached to a project called, could we think if this theory, this vision, is it practical? I might guide this some analyst. I might attach some analysts to this, thought process, or these thinking line, so that they will start building some realistic requirement for these, or realistic, R&D plans for building this proof of concept. There'll be a single project, and then there could be multiple projects. Right? I need to procure those thrusters, means those fans. I need to procure some, engine which is lighter, the weight to air ratio, and blah 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 stuff. If you know the airplane dynamics, they have
Yep.
more concern about the lift weight and blah 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 thing. So you'll have those plans going on. So we'll create a theoretical model first, might be with a plastic, or might be with a even soil mitti usse banayenge first, and then we'll present this, and then we'll get some budgetary approvals. So and then we'll start actually building some single execution of a flying car. Yes, you can put what you can say, building flying car aim at a portfolio level, but still you can't give an end to it, right? Because this R&D might take a month, a week, or 2 months, or 6 months. So at a portfolio level, it was just a strategic thought, strategic vision created, and it perforated down to a project whenever we have a specific goals, specific scope attached to it.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Sure. So this is
Thank you.
how a project manager will explain. Project manager will make sure whatever we are discussing fits in the overall partigram of those knowledge areas, those explanation, and the planning.
So
Because
since
why
this
we
is
do
R&D,
go ahead, please.
so since this is R&D, so this won't be termed as a project then, right? Because there's no end date.
No, Vijayji, we seen like R&D can be a project when you have a specific goal in mind. What is my specific goal here?
Okay.
Try to build a proof of concept, try to build a plastic model, soil model of a flying object, and present it to a budgetary, what they call venture capitalist, so that they can give you some $1 million and you'll start doing the R&D. That can be a project. My second project can be get the money from these venture capitalists and start building some real life singular car, single flying car,
Okay.
within next 8 months or 9 months or a year, or depending upon the activities and tasks which I have planned.
Okay.
Right? So I'm trying to go step by step, but in a defined manner. These are not dreams. These are what we can say strategic objective. But yes, each and every project must be a temporary endeavor, so end inside, and a unique product, service, or result. Right? So definition is really crucial and clear in terms of project. That's why they kept it small. Does that make sense, Vijayji?
Yeah.
So I know it's a bit more of theoretical. When we do some real hands-on experience, now you'll get a clear idea. Please don't worry.
Okay.
Only thing to remember here is we should have a clear end inside and a clear objective inside. A defined, well-defined objective. It can be tangible or intangible, plus a clear, timeline.
But then again, okay.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I may be wrong. Again, when you're
No,
saying
Go ahead,
clear
please.
timeline, but then R&D doesn't have clear timeline, even though it has a specific goal.
That's the misconception we have. That's the misconception we have. If you go to NASA, every R&D has a clear, crisp timeline. Every R&D activity has a clear, crisp activities, tasks, schedules, and timelines fixed before they sanction the budget. If you go to any organization, be it matured organization like US military, NASA, even your own organizations, try to check out the PMO logs. There's something body called Project Management Office, right? So there they have these list of projects, list of programs, and list of portfolios. And these categories are clearly defined because, and that's what we're discussing with Pratapji, right? So what we're trying to do, we are trying to
R&D doesn't have a like, it's not ever going. It has to be have a end it to it, right?
Exactly.
That's
It's
what
not
it
a
is.
process. It's a project,
Right.
right? It's a
Okay.
project. Very
Yeah,
right.
so in last video you mentioned like Thomas Edison, like the 10 times he got the result. So
Right.
in yeah, so if anything, if we are going to invent the new things, that will, we don't know like the how many iteration it will going to take, like 10,000, 20,000, or maybe 5,000.
Let me
So
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. You're
yeah,
right in your thinking process.
mm,
See, but whatever I'm doing has to have certain plan in mind, right? See, if I
that's
want
correct.
to find a God, right? Let's say finding a God is my, that's what I want to do. So what I'll do, I'll plan some activity, how to find God. So I'll go to some temples. That will be my activity. So how long I should go to temple? I'll plan my next 2 weeks to go to the temples which are nearby and try to find if I can meet God. Does that make a
Mm,
sense? Can I do a project on this? I'm planning
mhm.
to visit 25 temples to find a God in next 2 weeks. Can I have execute this as a project?
Yes, it's got to start
Yeah,
and an
for
end.
one
You
for
cannot
one
skip.
one temple visit and one project.
No,
Yeah, that also can you
no.
do. But let's call it a program then. So I'm going to build a program of visiting 25 temple in next 2 weeks. That's my program. And then I have a project, as you clearly said, to visit a Swaminarayan temple in the in my vicinity. That's my first project. So
That's
today
correct. Mhm.
at 4 p.m. or today or tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'll go to Swaminarayan temple and try to find God there. Does that mean like I'll get the God at the first? No, that project can be a failure. But that definition of project itself gives you a confidence to do it, so that I'm walking in a right direction. So
Mhm.
starting in a right direction is the most crucial part here as far as project definition goes. And
Mhm.
it shouldn't be any ambiguity in the project definition, so that there shouldn't be any ambiguity in subsequent program or subsequent portfolios. We like
Got it.
dreamers, but the
Mhm.
actual planning should be based on facts and figures. That's how we call it. Dreamers are good. Unless I dream, I will not walk in that direction. But dreams can't be a project. Project should have a specific timeline, a temporary endeavor, and clearly a unique result to be achieved with this. Right? Any
Mhm.
confusion at this moment?
No. So
No.
like you said, the dreams are not projects. So like that is a intangible, like we cannot
That's
touch it.
no, but
That's
see, okay, intangible thing can be a project, right? I want to increase my brand value, or what you can say, asset holding, what they call in a financial market of my company from 1 million to 1.5 billion in 2021. That could be a project, right?
Mhm.
Asset value is intangible results, right? Because someone might value your asset at 20 million, or some might value asset at 35 million, depending on their thought process, their assessment of a market. This can be what you can say, ambiguity at that level. But at the end level, I might put a name of organization of a which perceived your asset value to 1.5 billion in at the end of year 2021. These are all intangible things, so there has some sort of deviation in the results, but still I can plan it that way, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
even intangible thing can be a project. We've seen that, right? I couldn't recall the exact project we discussed in intangible thing, but yeah, does that make sense?
Yep, I got it. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so there are process, but in process we build some definite step to make sure we are walking in the right direction. We are totally aligned with the complete practical vision in place before we start any project, before we allocate any budget, man, material, machine resources to it. Okay, and that's how it works. And these all assigning man, material, machine to a given task and activity is my scope building. We'll have a look at scope definition also. As far as the knowledge area goes, we have a knowledge area of scope management. We have a knowledge area of integration management. So integration management basically integrating all the departments together. And we're going to start with integration management knowledge area first. Okay, I'm just going ahead. Sorry. So let's try to understand change. Project management accept change. we are in an agile era. What is agile? Flexibility is our motto. So I am flexible enough to understand my client's deviation, client's addition to given project. I accept it completely, but just it in a managed and a controlled way. So project manager expecting changes and implement the process to keep change managed and controlled. The crucial words here are managed and controlled. So why manage and control? Let's say a client give me project for enhancing their attendance management system, right? So what actually the project was is basically leveraging the overall attendance management from a manual supervisory based attendance management system to a biometric attendance management system, which is automated 24/7, cloud data recovery, centralized unified process, blah blah blah, so on and so forth, right? And now one day the VPHR comes to me and asks, could I have SAP integrated with these? Because I have my older employee data there, plus all my salary processing could be moved to the cloud. So can I do that? So this will be another project. This is in line with what I am doing. But the next day he comes to me and say, I want to include procurement also, right? Which is not in line with this thing, but I can add another project by itself, so that there'll be a procure management system for so and so client. And that's how I keep adding project, I keep getting more business, and there'll be subsequent scopes, subsequent budgetary sanctions, and blah 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 things will fall in place. This is how the change happens in agile area. And I have clear cut departments, separate departments to understand requirement. They can be something like business analyst, and then business analyst closely work with designer, financial consultant to provide this budgetary facts and figure, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, at an organizational level, all project manager are ready to accept changes, implement process to keep change managed and controlled. These words are really crucial to understand. These words make us believe how we execute each and every project successfully. Does that make sense? Could you believe if we go this way, we could execute the project successfully, well planned, and a controlled manner? Anybody have any confusion on this? JG, have you understood? Sriniji, please go ahead. Have you understood?
Yeah.
Hello, could you all hear me?
I think for some time we lost. Just now I'm hearing you again.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I think so. We lost for the few seconds, then it's come
Okay.
back.
Okay, I'll repeat what I said again. So these basically try to tell us something like how we accept change, right? What the change means to a project manager. So project manager expect to change and implement the processes to keep change managed and controlled. So here the important point basically getting managed and controlled. All the changes should be in line with whatever my project objective. If not, I'll create a separate project for it. And that's how I'll manage each and every scope, so that all the projects goals are met in a timely manner. I'll define scope, I'll define project objective, each and every these changes if they are not aligned with my primary objective. Could you understand this?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's how it works in terms of change. And just to make sure all these changes, whichever client is saying, I'm ready to accept. Only if the change is quite different from the activities which I am doing, I'll create another project, right? So I'll basically move to a program management area than a project management area if the objectives or the requirements given by client fall in two separate buckets. And so I'll have two projects with that client where I was expecting to execute one project. And this is how the organization gets scaled up in terms of agile practices, right? And that's why agile practices understanding is a great deal, and that's why we have that agile classes before this. So we are ready to accept changes, and these changes even in PMI thought process came after 2000 plus year, after 00. So after 2001 we are trying to accept all the changes. Flexibility is a motto as far as overall project management or program management or portfolio management practices goes. Now let's have a look at programs. Programs are managed in a manner that accepts and adapts to a change as necessary to optimize delivery of benefits as a program's component deliver outcomes or outputs. Now when I say project accept new things, and if a client give a requirement which is not in line with what the project objectives were created before, I'll create another project. I discussed an example of attendance management system. Let's say I'm working as a project manager with Infosys on a project of improving attendance management system of State Farm. State Farm is an insurance company. Both of these are matured company. So whenever I go to State Farm say, hey, look at my attendance management system, which is basically a manual based, right? So they given me an order to build a solution to take this attendance management system to 24/7 centralized data on cloud, uniform across offices, and so on and so forth. So I took that project and I started executing it. So I have what I have decided as a project. The project definition was to enhance the attendance management system State Farm with biometrics. So I have to install some biometric measures to make sure whatever I have implementing as a solution at State Farm is it's concise enough or is important enough to all solve the problem which they have shared with me whenever we are discussing this project. But the next day, the project, the VP HR from State Farm comes to me and say, tell me, hey, project manager, I want to include SAP integration also because all my older employee data is in SAP. You know SAP, right? SAP? Anybody don't know SAP? Hello?
Yeah, we
Have you
know.
heard of?
Okay.
Okay, you know SAP, right? Okay, great. So let's talk it about SAP. So, so integrating SAP can be a part of overall building enhancement attendance management system project, which is in line with my objective. But after a few weeks, again, the VP HR comes to me and says, hey boss, I need to build a parking efficient planning system. So I need to really build an efficient parking for my challenge in parking spaces. So for that, I need to add another project. This is not really in line with the attendance management, right? Yes, every employee has a car and so on and so forth, but still to align all this parking was not a discussion earlier, but I'm ready to change. So what I do, I'll take the project and I'll basically add that as a new project. So there will be some analyst, there will be some designer who are closely working this VPHR and try to gather requirement again for this new project. So from one project, I moved to two projects, right? And that's how we keep ramping up the organization. And that's how the overall change adaptation is beneficial for business also. Could you understand what I'm trying to say here? Could we understand the beneficiary of accepting changes in a project management area? Can anybody want to explain in their words?
No, I think so. I'm good.
No, Prabhakar ji, could you please explain in your word what do you understand by when I say adding a project to what I can say increase the business for the organization?
So that will come into the program manager. Like you give the example like the attendance management, and he wants to integrate with the SAP.
Right.
Yeah. So like you currently you are in the cloud, and again he wants to. So that will going to be add the like the you are
Right.
making a new budget. You are making a new project,
Additions.
and that addition
Very right.
project, and
Very right.
yeah.
Right.
So that will come. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say I want to have another system for, let's say, improving parking spaces or, efficiently parking, how do I take that project?
So since that is not a part of that, what you are developing in the as a project, so
Right.
since it's a new requirement and new thing, so
Uh-huh.
you put it as a separate project, and then you basically have two projects going in for that particular
Perfect.
company.
Right. So I have more revenue for my organizations. I'm ramping up the engagement with the organization. That's how we see. Okay, great.
So that's also coming into the under the program. That's
That's
correct.
correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And if you have too many programs, we can, ramp up to a portfolio management. In a normal IT world, we call it as a business unit. So I have a business unit like Infosys, Patni. These guys have a business unit for State Farm by itself, because Patni have around 450 plus resources deployed in Abana Champagne, and even Infosys have around 400 500 plus resources deployed at Abana Champagne, working for the solutions they have for the insurance sector at State Farm's office. I know because I know I worked with these guys. So that's how. So we have a separate business unit called State Farm for a US subsidiary of Infosys. They call it
The
business unit.
portfolio is business unit.
You can say it like that. Yes, actually that's the right way. But business unit can be a program also. See, these terms are used in a skewed manner. You are right in saying this can be a business unit can be a portfolio management. Yes, I think let's that's look more relevance for our learning. So let's treat, okay. So if you have too many projects, I'll create a program. If I have too many programs, I'll create a portfolio, or I'll create a business unit, right? These are like organizations verticals. So I have a State Farm business unit in Infosys. Okay. So does that make sense to everybody? Anybody have any contradiction, confusion?
So now I understood the project in
Uh-huh.
terms of this example which you told.
Right.
Project is like you're building the attendance system and then again a parking system, right?
Right.
And that together becomes a program.
Right.
But then when does it convert into portfolio? Means the two programs, two projects is a program. Then
Uh-huh.
how do you separate? How do you treat a second program with different? So are you saying that maybe suppose there is so how many projects can be in one
Good
program?
question.
That's my
Good
question.
question. Yes.
And
Now let's
then
talk.
depending on that,
Yeah.
how do you segregate into portfolio?
Yeah. Let's take a step back and trying to understand what portfolios are for. Portfolios are for specific domains, specific strategy in mind, right? It can be something like flying car. It can be something like flying car is basically starting a flying car manufacturing. It can be a portfolio, or it can be a specific domain like BFSI, banking financial services, can be one of my business unit portfolio. Now, how do I convert from program to portfolios? Normally, portfolios are created for a strategic initiative, like I want to plan all 10 million plus revenues to a portfolio, because for 10 million plus revenue, I might require some 600 plus resources. And I'm talking about on-site, offshore, and all those mix and match, and how every organization plan these things. So normally portfolios are created with a financial goal, financial strategy, or a specific domain, or a specific initiative which I pursue as a profit making initiative of a greater financial burden, greater financial trigger. What is greater financial trigger? Because if I pursue some goal might require certain financial budgeting over $10 million, or these numbers are basically given by mostly CEOs, CTOs, and financial consultant, so that whatever strategic initiative as an organization I take, they go to a creation of new portfolio. Does that answer your question, Vijayji?
No,
Brilliant.
not yet. Not.
Yeah.
Can you
Suppose
explain based on that example of State
su-
Farm what we are talking?
suppose
Right.
like suppose the project A like you said, the attendance system. Project A
Right.
is just attendance system. B
Uh-huh.
project is the your parking system. Okay, so the both are mixed. It's going to the program. That's
Right.
correct.
Correct.
So suppose the project C. Now I'm talking about the project C, something
Uh-huh.
else, and project D. Then also combine them. Then it's go to the program.
Right.
So
That's
so now the A B C D is
4
into the
projects.
program.
We are doing
So
first state form. Right.
yeah, so now all this A, B, C, D, E, F, Z, at what about the Z? All are going to be portfolio.
That's right. But there are additional condition to it, like with a specific profit margin, with a specific domain, or with a specific financial target, I can plan a portfolio. Portfolios are normally planned on a financial targets and operational targets, like building operational efficiency for a given region, or building some separate practices, or creating a specific strategic goals aligned to a specific client. That's why we create portfolios. Like if I know State Farm is really profitable venture for me, my organization, right? Because the EBITDAs are good, the profit margin are good, the top line, bottom line, or whatever the organizational goals are good financially, I'll create a separate BU so that I can have a concentrated person, which is a basically portfolio manager, looking at this scenario day in day out, and he can plan it better, he can achieve it better. Does that make sense?
I got yeah. So I'm going to change that, like this A
Go
plus
ahead,
B.
please. Uh-huh.
A is a project, B is a project. So
Uh-huh.
A plus B is a make a one program. C
Right.
plus D is a one program. So that is
Can
going
be.
to be in program. So
Right.
now A plus D is also the one like the going to be one program. B plus C is also going to be one program. Like if you have, because they
No, no,
all
no, no.
have.
You are complicating too much. See, we create these sets, right? Exclusive sets. Exclusive set is like when you have a set like A plus C, then B plus A can be cannot be another set. C plus D can be another set. A plus C, B plus D, and something like that. So every set is bit exclusive in terms of programs. Why we club together programs? Because program have a similar strategic goal or a subsidiary. So all the programs with a similar strategic goal, let's say attendance management and surrounding projects, will be my one program management group, right? And then another like parking, or like office interior, like energy efficiency planning, and
So
blah blah
the
blah.
example which we thought about first, the attendance and then the parking, that cannot be into one program. That could be like
You can be. See, it
separate.
depends on organization, right? It depends on portfolio manager or the top management. But normally, to a normal person, parking is quite exclusive than attendance, right? Don't you feel? Or you might
Yeah.
feel like parking is related to attendance. See, this is how the artistic comes into project management, and we need to give it a scientific way. So that's why we have templatization, and we'll come to that. But yes, please go ahead. Means discuss this thing in depth. We are going good.
I think that
Please go
we
ahead,
have to
Vijay.
keep in mind that
Yeah, go
you
ahead,
know
please, JJ.
a project or a program management can mean different things to different entities. Don't forget,
Right.
if the attendance management, that could be your project, but it could be part of, I'm the owner, it could be part of my program, and then that program could be part of a strategic future mechanization, call it automation on everything.
Right.
It depends on where you sit in that hierarchy.
JG, yes. Just to add, normally we have something called project plan and project objectives. So if there are, if you say single objective isn't project, multiple objective can be a program. That's right. But normally we zero down, or we try to make it a unified thing between client and technology partner. So Infosys is my technology partner, State Farm is my client, right? So this engagement time, we define this project. Okay, this is addition to the current project. Now these are the two separate projects. Now these we call it as a program. So there are two projects or three projects which are clubbed together, and this is defined and this is understood between two persons or two organizations as an technology partner and a client. And this is a need because there should be an independent plan for each and every project. Plan, right? Means we plan the task one, task one to be done on Thursday, task two to be done on Friday, and so on and so forth. These plan make a project independent project. So we normally don't try to pile up a project with too many tasks, because that's we're going to learn in overall integration management or scope management how we plan a project, and we'll learn steadily, and we'll basically understand why this is a necessity, so that the confusion shouldn't be there. I can clearly understand when you say the program manager I can clearly understand that the project manager and program manager can think differently as a person, but overall, when you try to basically build a plan, it should be uniform and approved on an organizational level. Means it will get approved by the stakeholder or the product owner from State Farm and a project manager at Infosys, and they should be on a singular concrete plan, and they'll have this approved and signature there. So that will be my single project plan. Now whatever goes in that project plan will be only for, let's say, attendance management or only for the parking assistance system, right? Something like that. So but these two can be clubbed as a program. Now this is what the program manager will decide. So program manager is an Infosys senior person who normally talks about the organization alignments at a strategic level. Means he's a bit senior than project manager, right? So he have these two project manager came to him saying, "Ki boss, parking assistant and State Farm, we need to visit client frequently. So could we leverage one single analyst so that he goes and collects the requirement for attendance management as well as parking system?" So program manager, yes, that's really great idea. Okay, let's try to use single resource for these two requirement gathering. This is what analysts do, right? So this is how I'm trying to collect or trying to share resources across. Now when I share these resources, their costing does reflect in my project plan, because my FTE costing can be reduced to 50%, 60%, depending on my the project manager's dealing of costing, right? So this way I normally start sharing resources, start sharing man, material, machines, and this is how I leverage the organization's strategic goal. Could you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, and a lot of this is about theoretical that we're talking about. In reality, let's say if you're a program manager, you're going to have 5 programs under you, and you have a total of, let's say, 20 people within your group that do the actual work. You're going to be taking programs that those technicians or your specialist guys can do, and they can perform that work. Therefore, you get handed these projects. You can call it what you want, but a lot of it is, there's one specialty guy that's specialist on retina, so the project would come to you. But it's about resources, sharing resources and use of resources as well. That defines which program you may get shuffled into. Is that right?
Right. That's rightly said. And that's how we normally migrate from project to program, right? And if you have too many such shufflings for a given client, we might create a separate group of these programs, right? And then it goes to a portfolio level. And then it goes to a kind of portfolio manager level, where we have multiple program or multiple such instances of projects going on together. Might be from a different domain, might be from different work executions. Some might sit on floor 2, some might sit on floor 3 because of the increase in number, but overall it comes under umbrella of one portfolio. Does that make sense? This is a kind of natural progression, what we call, right?
Yep, I'm good.
Me too.
Yes, but have you understood? Have you understood the, how we basically, migrate the organizations from a singular execution to a program and a portfolio level, right? This happens in a practical life. This is how the overall, increase in client revenue, client participations, and all these things go hand in hand at a given, for a given department, or for a, what I can say, organizational, footprint increase in a given domain area or a regional area. And that's how these strategies are planned. Okay, let's take a step ahead and let's try to understand how we take care of this planning, management, and monitoring as well. So as I said, project manager progressively elaborate high-level information into a detailed plans throughout the project life cycle. We've seen the project life cycle, right? So we'll basically add these activities and tasks depending on how the progress of a project or evolution of a project or addition to the project going on and on, right? There could be one project and there could be addition to the project. There could be another project and there could be another few additions to that another project. And that's how we get progressed. So that's how the planning get added with the task and activities. And we'll have a look at that thing whenever we are basically going to learn the planning knowledge area, right? And then programs, similar way, even programs which are a bit at a higher level, they high level plans and track the independencies of a progress of a program components. Now each project is a program component, right? So all these additions will result to, let's say if you add 5 tasks to a project, you'll have 1 task to a program, because it's a superset, and we normally try to target the more of an operational level than a tactical level, more of a strategical level rather than tactical level, so on and so forth. So program plans are also used to guide the planning at a component level sometime. So as I discussed about that resource sharing, right? So all these program planning includes us sharing, includes us building more efficiency in a given executions day by day. Now, if you go to portfolio level, portfolio managers create and maintain necessary process communication relative to the aggregate portfolio. Now, what is aggregate portfolio? Aggregate portfolio means I'm talking about a department, like we said, right? So if I have a department called State Farm and we are sharing the resources across, and then if I feel a need, like, I need to have some domain experts in, let's say, attendance management domain. So what I'll do, I'll have one person nominated and take some training from the industry experts of attendance management products, like full body scanner, iris scanner, like even those remote cameras which are normally monitored for the parking spaces and so on and so forth. So these are kind of what you can say skill enhancement. These are kind of overall improvement in my processes efficiency, will help overall all the programs and the project at the end. And that's how the portfolio management build these strategies, build this proactive training, build this overall how to help better, how to engage better for a given client as an portfolio manager. Could you understand the graduation, the gradual level of increase in interest for a given project to program to portfolio? Could we understand this?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Anybody have any confusion? Okay, let's go to the next level and try to understand management. Now, project management manages singular execution, right? So they have certain team members. So they might have something like 5 members to 20-member team. Now they try to coordinate, or they try to make sure all these members are working in line with the singular execution, singular project executions, right? And at a program level, program normally manages these project managers. Now, programs are managed by a program manager who ensure that the program benefits are delivered as expected. So I'm talking about meeting all these requirements which are given, performance or non-performance requirement for a given project at a program level by coordinating the activities of a program components, which is a project. So what I'll do whenever, as a program manager, whenever I'll review projects, I'll make sure whatever I was creating, I'm on track, and I'm on in line with the business requirement given to me for a given singular execution. And that's how I progress step by step in terms of a singular execution to a group execution. And now I go to an organizational level or a department level. So portfolio managers may manage or coordinate portfolio management staff, a program and a project staff that may have reporting responsibility into aggregate portfolio. Why we call aggregate portfolio? Because this is an umbrella, organization we are talking about. In a hierarchy, project manager is my singular execution, program manager are multiple project execution, and portfolio managers have multiple program execution. So portfolio manager have multiple program managers reporting to him at an aggregated portfolio, right? So we talk about, let's say, 10 million as in revenue share to be generated from this program, from this client, from this department, so that all these activities should fall in line with those organizational objectivity. Now project managements have a clear objective depending on projects. Program manager have clear objective depending on multiple projects. So they go more towards the operational or client engagement level. Portfolio managers are basically responsible for organizational activity more. So they go more operational and less technical. Project manager are completely technical in terms of day-to-day executions. Technical in terms of not the platform like .NET and Java. Technical in terms of day-to-day micro level executions for each and every project. Program managers move to a bit more macro than micro. And portfolio managers normally manages at a macro level. So they have a bird's eye view and they try to solve all the escalations one by one. Does that make sense? Could you understand this, what I'm trying to say here?
Yep, I got it.
Yeah, I got it, but I have a question regarding the aggregate
Please go ahead.
portfolio. What do you mean by that one? Like the aggregate portfolio? I cannot understand that part.
Come again, please.
I understand each and everything, but I cannot understand under the portfolio there is into the aggregate portfolio. What do you mean with this aggregate portfolio?
Yeah, aggregate is normally referred to an umbrella organization.
Okay.
Umbrella because you have all these subsidiary part, right? You have all these projects and then programs, all these groups you're responsible to address at a one go. So this is what we call aggregate portfolio.
Got it.
There are too many what I can say ground level parts moving, so that's why we call them aggregate. Okay. Aggregate, let's try to find out a Google meaning of aggregate. Let's try to do that. Aggregate, right? When I go to aggregate, it says to collect or gather into a mass of whole the census data were aggregated by a gender. Now this is what the Wikipedia let me this is from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So what is aggregate? Aggregate is what we are trying to basically build into a group and trying to apply a similar strategy to the whole scenario. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
When I search for
Yeah.
aggregate portfolio, it says that it is a roll-up summary of number of portfolios and savings plan.
Yeah, you can say that. Yes, Jay, you want to say something?
No, it's just that aggregate is just like you said, under umbrella, but bringing everything, different components, and let's say the program is a bucket,
Right.
So
Perfectly
it's
said.
just the adding of those, as long but to the one objective
Together.
that you're responsible for.
It's a cohesive strategy, working together for a cause.
Right.
Rightly said. Perfect. Does that answer your question, Prabhakar ji?
Yes. Thank you.
You're clear. No problem. Most welcome. Then monitoring, right? How do you manage? You monitor and control on a regular basis for each and every such execution. So let's try to understand the monitoring part of it. The project managers monitor and control the work producing the project services or result that the project was undertaken to produce. Now at a singular level, I have all these projects with a defined task and activities to to achieve, right? So what I do, I closely work with this project manager or the project manager closely work with the resources on a ground level to understand if there are any deviations. If there are any deviation, how can I address this deviation, and so on and so forth. At a program level, program manager monitors the progress of program components to ensure that overall goals, schedules, budget, benefits of the program will meet. So they'll make sure all these projects working together in a cohesive manner, and they are on budget, on time, on schedule, and so on and so forth. So that's how program manager. These are basically what they're trying to give you a clear-cut idea of your scope and administration for a given department, for a given executions, or for a given organization for that matters, right? So project manager normally work for a singular project. Program manager works for overall, how the overall all the projects working together for a given cause, and how they are coordinating within themselves, how organizations can help them to make it more easier, better, efficient manner. And portfolio manager build a long-term strategy, like if we can add anything to the given program managers thought process strategy to build the organization in a better day by day. So we'll build in some efficiency so that the profit margins are better. Portfolio manager monitor the strategic changes and aggregate source, resource allocation, performance result, and a risk of a portfolio. So these guys are basically more towards organizational inward thinking. Program managers are basically in between the they are trying to build some better coordination between the client and this organization. So technical partner and my client, I'll have more control or more strategic alignment, so that these relations take up to a next level step by step. Project managers more worried about their singular execution. So how can I complete my attendance management solution effectively in a coming days, and how can I build it better, faster, with a more customer satisfaction. That's how project manager monitors this building or creating of a singular solution. Program manager accepts set of solutions. Portfolio manager more set of programs or more set of a department to be aligned for a given profit margins or given organizational operational efficiency. Okay, does that make sense? Are we thinking on a similar line?
Yes.
Now we are going to understand this thing in terms of template, in terms of each and every knowledge area and how they reflect. So what template we normally use, what type of document we can utilize as an artifact, what type of planning I need to do in terms of addressing a singular concern, group concern or a department concern, and we'll have a look at that thing whenever we are going to work on a specific knowledge areas, right? So I think monitor is getting replicated here, right? Okay, let's go to a success. Now success is also an important part, because when I look at a project, the project is defined on a basis of success, basis of a clear unique service, product or a result, right? So let's see, success is measured by product quality, timeliness, budget, compliance, and a degree of customer satisfaction. So these are few critical points we consider in terms of a project success. And for these, we have all these knowledge area aligned to make sure all these singular executions basically work in relation or work in closeness with every other knowledge area to take a project manager to a success of a project. Okay, so what we normally track? We normally track by quality of a project. We normally track by timelines of a project. We normally track by budget compliance. We normally track by degree of customer satisfaction. And this is how we basically build a singular execution. At a program manager level, program success is measured by program ability to deliver its independent benefits to an organization. Now, could you see the difference? In project success, I'm talking about singular execution success, and we have all these agendas for a singular project success. In program manager, now we are talking about organizational benefits, the engagement benefits, The program's efficiency means number of projects efficiency combined together will build up my program efficiency and these benefits, right, which are combined. And then portfolio management. Success is measured in terms of aggregate investment, performance, and benefit realization of a portfolio. So I am talking about a department called State Farm. Its success in terms of, if I investment with 700 resources, am I getting sufficient profit to pay for their salary, asset, and all those other costs? So how much benefits I'm getting realized? How are the EBITDA margins? How is overall earned value for a given department, and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to understand the revenue implication more in depth from a portfolio perspective, from a departmental perspective. At a program level, I'm basically more into the set of projects efficiency, right? The program components are basically state of projects efficiency. So I'll try to monitor if each project is as per the quality, timelines, budget, compliance, and degree of customer satisfaction. And this is how we review the success. After each and every project, we collect the best practices and build something called knowledge, build something called something called best practices, and we include these best practices in project knowledge areas. So every organization nowadays have something called project knowledge area, where we can refer to the best practices learned. Even if the project is a failure, we still add these best practices area so that we can learn from our mistakes. Next time we will not have same mistakes again for a failure of a project. Does that make sense? And for that, we have a specific project closure process group. Project closure is a big activity in terms of understanding how the knowledge or whatever the learnings of the projects are archived in our knowledge area and shared across the organization. Anybody have any confusion at this moment? Yes, Vijayji, have you understand why we
Yes.
basically have a success, success as in separate, important point mentioned here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Prabhakar-ji,
Yeah.
you
So
understand, right? Go ahead, please. Srinivas-ji,
Yes.
you understood, right? Great.
Yeah.
And Jay-ji, any challenge there? Have you understood?
No, I understood.
Okay, great.
Are
No
we
problem.
supposed to memorize all these definitions?
No.
Each of
No. This is a kind of groundwork basically to understand the knowledge area. Because whenever we build this knowledge area, templates and processes, we need to understand these different sets, right? So what, and we need to think out these sets. So like, how a project manager will reflect, react, how a program manager will react, how a portfolio manager will react, because this is what the career progression is all about, right? And we are trying to understand how these processes, templates, or whatever tools we use have addressed these, challenges which we have discussed here. Or they can
Okay.
solve all the problem of these three persons, these three leaders, right? Project manager, program manager, and portfolio managers. All their queries should be solved by those tool sets, and we'll understand how we can do it step by step.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Let's go a step ahead.
so can we get this all slide like the?
Yes,
is
yes,
there
definitely. You're going to get it. Please don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now let's take a step ahead and let's try to understand how PMP look at these things. A project life cycle, right? So you start a project, you organize and build and prepare basically, then we carry out the work and then end the project. This is what you call normally in a waterfall execution model, which is a six-phase sequential execution. In Agile, we have an iterative task. So we do, kind of iteration for each and every development. So there'll be a bit of revisiting our requirement, reprioritizing our organization and preparation for a given task, and then we'll develop this task, we'll carry out the work, and we'll basically close at the mostly at the end of the sprint. Then we'll learn the knowledge, we'll share the knowledge, and again go to the again go into the scrum meeting, sprint meeting, and try to address all the backlogs, reprioritize the complete backlogs, or user story and get it executed step by step. Let's try to understand the process groups here. Now we have process group of initializing processes. We have a process group of planning processes. We have process group of executing processes. Then we have a process of monitoring and control processes and closing processes. These 5 processes are normally the superset of process groups, right? And then we have 10 knowledge area. So PM, project initiation, project planning, project execution, project monitoring and control, and project closing. These are the process group, right? And the way we depict in our diagram, the triangular, the diamond shape is basically a phase gate or a start of a new thing. Project phase is basically a square rectangle. Potential use or potential execution is basically an arrow, gray arrow, and timeline is basically the background, the progress bar which we talk about. So whenever we talk about something like a singular process group, or as we depicted here, right, example of process input, outputs, and tool. So there are the inputs H and J. There are some tools and techniques after this. This is a progress, right, from left to right. This is how the progression is shown in the arrow. Then we have a technique A, then we use some tool C, then we have outputs expected are project output A, project output B. Okay, these are the symbols or denotation we use normally in PMI. So whenever they ask to create a project depiction in terms of high level diagram, this is the type of tools we use to create these diagrams for us, right? Okay, could you take a homework in terms of try to build a diagram like this for a on pen and with a pen and paper, and trying to understand the project execution, what we discuss as a sample of attendance management system for State Farm. Could you do these things, and we can share those things in a next session, so that we'll understand, like, could we use this symbol correctly or not. It need not to be correct at this moment, but I want to understand whatever you understood in terms of using these symbols correctly. This is a need, because we are going to discuss on these symbols hereafter. Could you understand what I'm trying to say here? Any confusion on the homework? We need to do yeah, go ahead please.
What exactly we need to do?
Okay, take a project of enhancing attendance management system for a State Farm. You are working as a project manager in Infosys, and try to build a diagram like this, an example process diagram, saying how do you execute sequentially these different things. I'm giving you a free hand. I'm giving you a free hand in terms of try to understand whatever steps you want to take to make sure that project execution is successful. Okay, so can anybody explain what are the steps will be there? Just whatever comes to your mind. It might not be correct. Don't think too much. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Please go ahead.
Well, the attendance is, I guess you need to classify the attendance for different meetings or different presentations or groups, I guess.
Right. Yeah. The first will be requirement gathering. The first box will be requirement gathering, right?
Right.
That's how I depict in overall my project this thing. Requirement gathering, not in a PMI way, but that's how the thought process will go. And this is important because we want to make sure we are aligned with the overall basic philosophy of a project execution. This might not be correct in a PMI way, but that's a step where we want to reach. Yeah. So please go ahead. The next box.
Well, once you've done that, and you've decided that you're going to communicate using your badges, the chip in your badge, to track people. And the sensor, the reader, and then the separate project has to be set up for everybody getting new security badges with the idea, with the chips,
right,
as a separate and that has to be done at least at the national level.
Right.
If you're going to be taking attendance at, let's say, annual meetings or etc.
Great. You are already at a PGMP level, program management level, because the way you explain multiple project, and this is what the thought process is really important. And this is what depicts as in personality in terms of thought processes. Where am I? How I can manage the programs effectively. Very great, Jaiji. Very great. So I think you can do it within minutes. And this might not be correct in terms of depictions, but you can draw with your hand, the arrow and the box and all those things, right? You could do that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, sure. Prabhakar ji, could you please go ahead? What do you think in terms of the separate boxes will be?
Yeah, so like I was thinking the first one is the requirement gathering, then second should be a scope, like the
Right.
project scope.
Right.
According to me, maybe I'm wrong. Like I don't
No,
know. Like
see,
I
again,
cannot think.
don't say wrong. See, again, see what we are trying to do. We are trying to understand the philosophy behind this depiction. We should understand the symbolic representation of these, symbol in a sequence. So we are trying to understand how this, diagramming tool work. There don't have to be right or wrong. There could be bit of difference in our opinion or in our thought process, and we'll make that thought process unified as and we go further. This is a step-by-step process, right? You don't learn everything in a day. So we are taking a baby step. So there's nothing wrong here. There can be a bit deviation from standardization, and we'll have a look at it. But what I want to make sure you understood what we are trying to depict here as an project execution path, right? Yeah, so please go ahead.
Yes, so the first one is a requirement gathering. Then after that, there is a project planning and a scope, like
Mm-hmm.
that is feasible or not, like and
Mm-hmm.
then resource gathering, like which resource
Mm-hmm.
is useful for me, and
Right.
then start working on that part, like.
Perfect. That's really great. And you can add those points like even resource gathering, acquire man, acquire resources, acquire raw material, acquire machines, and so on and so forth. Very rightly said. Great. Vijayji, do you want to go ahead, please?
So basically, this is kind of a overall flow, right? Like
Right.
how the waterfall flows, like the requirement
Yeah,
gathering.
you
You
can
go for
take
the
it like
analysis
waterfall.
and design, and then of what you need to do, and then you go with the actual development,
Right.
and then do the testing, and then quality assurance, and then present it to the stakeholder and close the project. So
Great.
that's how.
Great. Vijay, you have explained the complete SDLC for this diagram. If you can do that, you are ready, frankly speaking. Let's try to do that, and let's discuss this thing in our next session, because
Okay.
this is the need. This is how we'll learn. If you can depict complete SDLC, well and good. But that was not the motto. But you are way ahead in terms of thought process, and that's good thing. The thing is that we are trying to learn this depiction of symbols, so that whenever the PMP shows you a diagram of, let's say, a typical knowledge area, we'll understand the input and output very crisp and clearly, right? Yes, Shiniji, do you want to go ahead?
Ravindraji, I have one question. I know a customer who works for an university, just university library, especially in a library. He has PMP. He said PMP is the main requirement for playing that role.
Okay.
Just they will collect the data from the historic materials, and they will try to publish it in the Library of Congress website.
Right.
But
is it like kind of digitization of records you're talking about?
Yeah, digitization
Okay.
of records.
Great. I did quite a few projects for myself. Okay, please go ahead.
What is PMP's role, and how can we match that with this diagram?
Yes, try to do this. This is really great example. As Vijayji you said, right? Vijayji included complete SDLC. So you can think about such SDLC. and try to depict this diagram, right? That's why we are doing this homework, so that we can map all these tasks, inputs and output in a given diagram. Could you see that, figure 1.6 is the example process, right? You need to draw something like this for that, so that you will keep thinking, right? Spend some, half an hour or 30, 35, 30, 40 minutes and try to build up some diagram like this. And then we'll discuss next session, step by step. Like, are they in line with the executions? Should be, these parallel tasks and so on and so forth. Because this will make sure whatever we draw is in line with the executions. There are some inputs. What are the tools and techniques do I use? And what will be the output expected? Right? So for a library management system, I'll take a paper-bound edition of a PMI book. So what are the tools and technique I use? First technique, I'll need something like optical character recognition, OCR. So I'll scan that book and convert it into English-like, text. And I'll have a reviewer, or auditor tool to check out if I have got all the characters or these things in line with, whatever was required. And the outputs can be a EPUB, MOBI, or PDF.
Yeah.
Right? So something like, try to jot down these diagram and you'll get an exact idea. And then we'll discuss it in our next session. This is required because this is how we plan. This is how we initiate the overall thought process of a planning.
Okay.
So that's why I will give you a homework, right? Do you want to discuss the project right now with everybody else?
I think
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe in the next class we can.
Sure, definitely. Because then you'll have a clear, crisp idea of what those processes are and how we can take it further.
Okay.
Okay, sure. Great. So these are the normal, sets we are going to use. Now we'll start with, knowledge area in our next session. Yeah, go ahead.
Questions.
Good, please. Please go ahead.
No, I thought JG has something. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Please speak a bit louder.
Okay, Raviji, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So when we do this diagram, my guess is I'm going to see 4 different diagrams.
Possible.
So, the way I look at it is everybody goes to their strength.
Right.
As a project manager, I go to my strength is pre-purchasing on construction projects. That's my strength. So I'm always put more time into that. I can make up later on the use of, I'll need additional time to do other stuff, but that's okay. My pre-purchasing will speed up everything else 2 months down the road, and I'll be able to catch up with everything.
Right.
So it's the way I'm looking at it is that as long as each and every component is captured, it can be put in one section or another section, but it's more of communicating to make sure that it's maximizing your resources.
Perfect. Yeah, right. And when you say communicating, right? So communicating within team. So they should understand your symbolism. And that's why we are unifying on these symbols, because these are the best practices we've learned over the years. So they use this diamond for, phase gate and, blah, blah stuff. So this will make sure every project manager understand, and you as a program manager can lead them. Does that make sense, sir?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's how we are walking. So this is like kind of first baby step to understand. Have we understood the symbols? Could we use it effectively? And we can debate. See, I might use diamond, I might use arrow the way I feel it. But when I'm trying to communicate with others, right? So I need to make sure I'm doing in a unified way, right? And that's why what we are learning. So as we discussed, like my mother tongue is Marathi, your mother tongue is, something else. I think Jay's mother tongue is Gujarati, and so on and so forth. So this way, we are trying to speak in a unified language called English. And that's how we learn, right? Even I am learning in a way. So how do we learn? We communicate in an effective, uniform language. And this is a kind of project management have come up with this diagramming language so that we talk in a unified sense. So when I draw a diamond, I'll make sure it's a, phase, right? When I draw a square, it's a project phase. When I draw an arrow, it's a kind of sequential execution in a way. And then the timelines are depicted in a gray background. And that's how we should be unified on a diagrammatic depiction. And as we all see, a diagram can explain 1,000 words, and believe me, it does. And that's why diagramming is an important part of a management as well. We'll learn something called Gantt chart. We'll learn something called critical tasks. These are really great depictions for a project manager, so that you can have a glance at image, a JPEG, GIF, or whatever you want to call it, or a project plan, and he'll understand, where am I going wrong? Is it in a red, green, yellow? Means the project execution. I'm talking about singular execution. And that's how project managers and program manager and portfolio manager work. Is the Ravindra Pandey's project in red, green, yellow? Is it green? Okay. Let's go to the next project, something like that. So my attention as a program manager or a portfolio manager towards all the projects who are in red. So I'll want to get them first into yellow. Red is a danger zone. Means I'm either, lagging on a budget, lagging on a resource, lagging on, machines, whatever it may be. Then yellow is danger. Yes, means it can move to red fast, but still I have a breathing space. So first I'll sort out red, then I'll sort out yellow, then I'll actually have a look at green and try to make it more greener. We call it, but there's no more green to it. It's like dil mange more. We always expect for more, but yes, we'll come to that later on. Okay, so let's try to understand how we can get a unified diagramming tool, and this is the unified diagramming tool set which we are going to use. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Are we on the same page, sir?
I think that at least from the construction side of it, my industry, we've used it in two ways. Number one, when I'm doing consulting on multiple smaller projects, like the 100-room hotel, there's multiple projects that I'm managing for different owners.
Right.
I come up with these because you have to present something to the bank.
Right,
okay?
Very rightly said.
And you have to have a timeline on it as to when you are going to make the draw or when you're going to put in for the money. So the bank has an idea of how much money to have on hand, because they've got the money, but if you're asking for $5 million when they don't expect it, that's a problem.
Right.
Like on the larger construction projects, if it's a $100 million project and you're going to draw down $100 million within 18 months, you need to know which month is going to be $20 million.
Exactly. Or where you're standing currently. These are what we call ballpark estimation. Ballpark is like, 20% here, there. It can happen. But at least you have a figure in mind. So if I'm trying to build my house, I'll, put it at, let's say, 2 million at the most, or something like that, depending on my pocket. Right? And that's how I get a budgetary approval. These are called budgetary approval based on a ballpark estimate in a PMI sentence. This is really great sample to start with. Yes. So we are all set for homework.
Yep, I am.
Yes.
Great. So please use pen and paper, and then we can move to the tools and techniques slowly, steadily. Right? Any questions for me at this moment?
Nope.
We are good, right? So let's wrap our session here. And let's spend some 30 odd minutes on building that homework, creating a diagram with whatever thought process you got in your mind. This is more of artistic work than a scientific at this moment. So diagram can be a bit sketchy, diagram can be a bit deviated from the unified way, but that's what we are going to learn here for. So we'll try to find a unified way. So how we can depict as in better, so that whenever we come across a knowledge area, we can understand the knowledge area scope, execution flow, and the result expected, the inputs going in, and all this scenario in crisp, clear way. Because this is how the project manager all over the world normally talk this language or depict these pictures, right? So let's try to learn this. Okay, so let's I'll take your leave here. You have a great night. Go ahead, please. Any questions?
Quick statement. I tried to contact PMI today.
Sorry.
Was not able to contact them. I was on hold 2 times for half an hour each. So I'm going to call again tomorrow. But
No
once I
problem.
hear
Please.
anything, I'll put it in
I
my
know.
WhatsApp.
It's it's time consuming for you, but I
That's
think it's
okay.
a need, right? Let's try to.
Yep.
If Vijayji, if you can also chip in, that'll be great help, sir. I think JG also already shared the number. So if you have got 10-15 minutes, could you please try on your own to call, contact PMI? Even Prabhakarji is the right person. Basically, he is with institution. So Prabhakarji, what we are trying to do, see, we are trying to understand, are we a right candidate for PGMP or a PMP? So what we are trying to do, if all these exams were remote, a few days back, that's the confirmation I have. But Diptesh ji, there's another participant. He said the PGMP exam moved to on site. That's what he said. So we need to check with PMI Institute so that we'll get confirmation if the PGMP exam is they moved it computer based exam, or you can do it from your home with a remote login ID. Am I am I asking too much? Could you understand, Prabhakaji, what I'm trying to say here?
No. It's going to be bonds. I can understand what
Prabhakar,
you are.
are you a PMI registered, or have you given PMP, or how is it?
Like, I was thinking like the PMP. I don't know like which one is good for me because this is my first class, so I don't know like even I don't know the course.
Okay, because I
So
thought Raviji said that you are affiliated with PMI.
no,
No,
I'm
not
not.
related. Sorry. I think Vijay, you got me wrong. He's working with the institution, right? He's working with the university.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought I thought you mentioned
But I
something of
don't.
PMI.
But I certification. I don't have any certification.
Okay.
Just want to make
Okay.
it clear. I don't
Then
have
that's
any.
fine.
Raviji,
So Raviji, I
uh,
will also try to contact them and try to see what I can
sure.
get info.
Prabhakar ji, please don't worry. What we're trying to do, because the institution in US daytime, and we need to basically call them and check out if we are doing still that remote what I can say remote exam thing, because previously they were used to give you a login ID and password, and you could give the exam from your home.
Okay.
That was the arrangement, the logistic previously. But the way Diptesh ji was sharing is like, they moved to something like computer based training. So, you have to go to a center to give the exam,
Oh.
right?
Okay.
So something like, so we need to make sure how the exam is being executed from PMI side, because PMI is the institute who take this exam.
Okay.
So, that's why we're trying to. So let, Vijay ji and Jay ji work on that, and then we'll, consolidate in next session. Don't
And
worry.
Raviji, one more question regarding that
Good.
registration.
Please go.
You mentioned that I should mention it as a program manager that I'm in a current job title, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, you are
Is
executing
that
multiple
better?
projects. Yeah, multiple. Yeah, even if you have to give PMP, you can mention you are doing multiple projects.
Okay.
Because the way I said it, like we are basically trying to walk towards a PGMP.
Right.
If you have to give PMP, that's well and good. Means you can do it effectively the way I
So
feel
these
it.
questions are
But
not
let's,
going to impact the way they look at or look at me, right, on PMP. Those questions.
yes, definitely. Please don't worry on
Okay.
that part.
Okay, I will register and I also try to contact them then. Okay.
Sure, no problem. Okay. Thanks a lot, and you have a good night.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Good night.
Take
Good
care.
Thanks
night,
so much.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.